everybody. I'm here with another edition of the 1 Million by 1 Million podcast. 1 Million by 1 Million, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. We run it out of Silicon Valley, but with a global footprint. And today, I'm here with Shalini Prakash from 500 Startups India. Shalini, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you and everyone today.
So Shalini, let's start by doing a bit of a context setting on 500 Startups activities in India of late, and where are you positioning your investment thesis today?
Sure. So just to set a little bit of context on 500 in general, we are a value-based fund investing in early-stage tech companies across the globe. We have about 2,000 companies in our portfolio across 60 countries, about 15 active microfunds investing in different geographies. So in India, we are about 60 companies strong. We've been investing in India since 2012, 2013. And we came in really, not too many value investors are looking at India per se. So,
Shalini, the line is breaking up. This is from a podcast quality point of view. I'm going to stop the recording just a second.
Wait. Is this okay now?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the 1 Million by 1 Million podcast. I'm here today with Shalini Prakash from 500 Startups India. Shalini, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shamana. It's good to be here today.
Shalini, let's start by giving our audience a bit of an orientation of what's happening at 500 Startups India. How are you positioning the activities of the organization?
Sure. So I'll just set a little bit of context about 500 Startups. We are a value-based fund investing in early-stage tech companies across the globe. We have over 2,000 portfolio companies across 60 countries and several microfunds focused on different geographies. So in India, we've been active since 2012, 2013. We have about 60 plus companies here, and we have been investing in the region's most promising founders, working on all technologies and sectors. We are sector agnostic and technology agnostic, so we pretty much look at everything. So that's a little bit about our activities here.
So a few details about what you like to invest in. Is it both B2B and B2C, or you have a preference for one or the other?
No, as a fund, we are sector agnostic and technology agnostic, right? So we pretty much look at everything. We've invested in companies right from something to do with drones to biotech to, marketplace and SaaS companies. So it's pretty much everything. So we look at something which is totally technology-led, and we invest in those areas. Okay.
And the other question is about stage. So what is comfortable? Right now we have a very segmented seed ecosystem with some people doing pre-seed, seed, post-seed, pre-series A, small series A, large series A. Where in that continuum do you like to play?
So it depends from company to company, and rather, let me say more sector to sector. It depends. But we have pretty much been a seed investor, so we like to come in very early. Either the first check or the second check is when we'd like to come in. Having said that, we've also done companies in India which are Series A stage. If it's a space that you really like, and if there are not too many companies that we can find, and of course we really love the founder, we have taken those bets as well at the Series A stage. But typically it is the seed stage. We'd like to be the first people to be writing the check.
And what size check do you like to write?
So in India, we've been doing checks anywhere between $50,000 to $250,000. It depends on the stage of the company and how far along they have been with product and traction and all that. Yeah, but it's as wide as $50,000 to $50,000.
And you syndicate with other people as well, then?
Yes. Very rarely we take the whole round ourselves. So especially in India, we've mostly done co-investing either with angels or other institutional funds.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the companies that you've invested in. You said about 60 companies since 2012-13. What are some interesting success stories that have come out, and what can we learn from those?
So I think the investments in India have been very interesting because the initial wave of companies that came out, say like the Ola and the Flipkart, right? I mean, that's around 2009, 2010 time, right? And most of these companies that we invested in after, right, say 2013, 2014, have mostly been around, say, marketplaces. They're really focused on B2C offerings, right? And of course, we have seen a few exits as well around 2015, 2016. We have seen about 5 or 6 exits that happened. But of late, the kind of investments that we are doing now is very different from the kind of investments that we made earlier, right? So the initial wave of companies were only catering to, say, the tier 1 cities of India, to the urban market, right? Say from a Bangalore or a Delhi and all these, people. But now the kind of investment that we are looking at is really about, what does really 80% of India, which is the non-urban market, really need today, right? And it could be vernacular content, it could be to do with healthcare or education. So our investment focus has really shifted from what it used to be, say, 5 years ago. And also, there has been so much of development in India itself, right? I mean, right from, say, internet being so accessible with Jio. Every other person has a smartphone and internet, and we already about 450 million smartphone users and who have access to internet today, right? And that number is only going to be bigger and bigger, right? So since there is access to services and information, so the shift for most of these early stage companies has mostly been towards a new set of market, right? The next 200 or the next 300 million people right now. So the kind of investments that we are making is very, very different from what it used to be before.
But does that mean that you don't invest in the major metro-oriented or the higher-end consumer-oriented businesses anymore, or the global enterprise?
No, of course we do. We do everything, right? Nothing has changed. It's mostly to do with the kind of companies that are even there in the market today, right? I mean, most companies that we are seeing today in the market are mostly focused towards the next 200 or 300 million people, right? Having said that, we've of course invested in the last 12 months or 15 months in companies which are totally focused on deep technologies. For example, there's this company called Pandorum Technologies, which is focused on tissue engineering, right, and cellular regeneration and things like that, right? So, of course, we have been looking at companies like that as well, but in, like, say, 18 months ago, we did this company called SpotDraft, which is focused on legal tech. It's a SaaS product. They're set out to build a global company, right? And most of these SaaS companies don't remain in India. They always look for U.S. as a market or Southeast Asia as a market now. And so these are all global companies. So we look at everything and we continue to do that. But if you look at in the last 15 months or 18 months, as a seed investor, you see wave of companies, right? There's a trend, and then everybody didn't find like 10 companies building something very similar, and then 3 months later you find a new wave. All right. So the wave that we've been seeing last year has mostly been around vernacular, right? So say vernacular commerce, and then there was vernacular content, and then the end of last year was mostly around vernacular social commerce, right? Which is really focused on vernacular content again, right? The whole of last year was different areas around that. But yeah, we keep.
Well, and fintech is big in India right now.
Sorry, say that again?
Fintech is very big in India right now.
Of course. So, I think fintech's been really big for the last 2-3 years, especially after demonetization, right? Which came about, say, in 2016, right? So it is only getting bigger and bigger payments, and it's interesting because the shift is again not with urban market, right? They're looking at the next 200 or 300 million people, and thanks to internet penetration across different markets in India, I think the number has been growing astronomically, bigger and bigger, right? So you're right. I mean, fintech for sure, it's been around for really long, and it's really taken off really well post demonetization. And now we are also seeing this new wave around CPGs, right? Consumer packaged goods, a lot of branded
and brands.
Market.
Yeah, I think the brands are very interesting. So, I mean, the observation I have is, how Africa really leapfrogged with mobile and went to mobile banking and mobile payments very successfully. Kenya and all are heavy duty fintech users. With Geo and this massive next 200 million penetration, that could happen in India, because there is a very flimsy penetration of financial services in that segment, and there it could be a massive wave and massive development, including credit infusion into that market. So that's a very interesting opportunity. But on the other extreme, I'm also very interested in what's happening in the high-end brands development. There are new Indian brands developing a lot right now. This is a trend we are seeing as well, and we have it in our portfolios also. I think there will be some very interesting brands, including some higher-end brands that are going to be catering to the mature Indian consumer that has been connected for over a decade and is a sophisticated online consumer. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I think over a period of time, some of these consumer brands may look at how to do direct to consumer, right? Try D2C model and see if that's going to work for India. But you're right. I mean, right from food to clothing to shoes to cheese to I've seen all kinds of companies come out in the last 2 years, and I also know there are funds which are focused only towards CPG, the consumer packaged items, right? So yes, I think with the growing middle class and the aspirations of the middle class and above, I think there is more and more room for these products to come. And I see a big shift also with cosmetics, right? I mean, there's so many Indian companies coming out with localized products around, say, Ayurveda. And, it's very interesting how they're using, Indianizing a lot of these products. And they're very competitively priced. And to any Western products in, say, 15, 20 years ago, it was like a thing to buy a foreign product or like an American or a French cosmetic brand. Now, it's not like that anymore. Nobody thinks that way. Everybody is happy to pay for a good product. It doesn't matter if it's Indian or no one's allured as much as they used to be, right? Which is very good.
Very good, very good. And I think there is. People are learning to market better also. I think the packaging in India used to be really shabby, and I think people understand that if you're trying to position a sophisticated product, it needs to have sophisticated packaging. And frankly, India has such a great tradition of craftsmanship, right? Artisans and craftsmanship. There's no reason why you can't do phenomenally beautiful packaging to market some of these products. So the opportunity is actually really fantastic on that side.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And I think also, with more and more exposure for everyone in the last 15, 20 years, right? And I guess, finally we've all learned the art of marketing.
Yeah. And what about exits? You said you've already had a few exits. How are you? Can you talk about the exits that you've had and also exits in general? What is your impression and what is your analysis of the exits in India?
We had some exits around 2014, 2015. The companies like, we had Cucumber Town, and then we had MyGola, we had Gooddial. These are companies that got acquired. Like, for example, Zital got acquired by Twitter, and Little Eye Labs got acquired by Facebook, and so we've done pretty well there. We got some really early exits since then, and then of course India and the startup ecosystem itself went through changes right around 2015, 2016. There was not so much money in the market, and valuations were questioned, and I think there's been a little bit of correction around that, right?
That correction was very necessary. India went a bit bonkers at that time.
Yeah. So I think it came at the right time, and even generally, I think the M&A activity within the ecosystem itself, right, I think has risen. So which is really good, I think, because for most investors, right, especially for non-Indian investors who are investing in India, the question was always about where is the exit happening, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you're a foreign investor, it's a question of, should I be investing in China or in Southeast Asia or in Indonesia or in India, right? So it's always about justifying why India, where are the exits, and you talk about IPOs and large acquisitions. And fortunately, the Flipkart exit was a big story and a big win for us. But we need more and more of those to come out to sort of build the trust for any foreign investor, because we have these debates internally with 500, right? I mean, everybody believes in India and how strong this ecosystem is going to be, and it's a very important market for 500, and we occasionally have these debates about how exit is going to happen, where is it going to come from, and but yeah, I think we will like I said, Flipkart was a good win to show the foreign investors that there is some money that we can make here.
Well, I actually on the topic of exits, I'm equally excited as I am about Flipkart, which I think is an outlier. I'm more excited about the smaller exits, like, Nutanix bought a company called Minjar. Nutanix is representative of the kind of, global technology company that we have a lot of in the U.S. in particular right now. There are lots of SaaS companies, lots of these, mid-sized tech companies. There's Viva, there's Workday, there's ServiceNow, and these are mid-sized, but they're also quite large. And then there's a whole lot of them that are smaller, the Box, Dropbox, and so on and so forth. So there's like a couple of hundred of these companies. I think there's a phenomenal opportunity for these companies to acquire smaller companies like this Minjar and so on and so forth. Qualys acquired one of our companies, Adya. I think there's a lot of small companies out there. There are like thousands of small companies out there, and some of them finding smaller exits is actually make the market more robust.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we invest in these companies, right, we are always investing with the hope that, it's going to give you 100x or, whatever, right, or it is going to be your Facebook or Uber in your portfolio, right? But I know we all know that the reality is not that, right? So although the intent is for each of these to be a success in its own right, I think if you're even doing a 10 million or 15 million exit for a $50,000 check that you have written into the company,
it's
right?
A great outcome, yeah, that's a great outcome. And the thing that is important to keep track of is that there is one Facebook, there is one Twitter, right? There is one Google, but there are 200 SaaS companies or these global technology companies. So in the history of a company in 1 year, how many exits do they make? They don't make that many exits, right? So you need more companies out there making, steady, continuous exits, continuous acquisitions, so that there is a much bigger flow going. So that's, I think, what we need to be driving towards. And if we can, in the next, let's say 2 to 5 years, if all these companies start acquiring companies out of India, I think that liquidity in the market is going to start to flow really well.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you also look at the let's say about 5 years ago, right? I think there were only about 35 or 40 non-US unicorns that came out, right? And today it's about 260, right? And I think that's a really good number. And we don't, in 5 years, if we've all made that leapfrog, probably have 500 unicorns just come out of non-US market itself, right? So I think the non-US market is developing very well, and frankly, the non-US market as well as the outside of Silicon Valley or outside of the major hubs, Silicon Valley, Boston, New York hubs, markets within the US is also developing very well. We have great pockets now in Utah. Utah has produced several unicorns. So, I mean, this kind of development, more dispersed, distributed development is happening very solidly, and that's a great trend. And I think in 10 years that is going to really, become the norm, and that will be a massive, massive improvement. Well, Shalini, it's been a pleasure. I think it's great to catch up. I will send you a couple of companies actually right away as soon as we finish this conversation, and then we'll see what else we can work on together. Great. It was lovely chatting with you today. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Audience, thank you for listening today, and we will be back soon with another edition of the 1 Million by 1 Million podcast. In the meantime, if you want to work on your project, come to one of the free public roundtables. Go to the 1Mby1M.com website. You will see the schedule, register to pitch or attend, and we will work on your venture. It's a safe working session. You can bring whatever it is that you're getting stuck on, and we will work with you on that. See you soon.